Welcome back to another episode of P-Word News. Did KSI really say the P slur?
Look, we need points in it, alright? I don't mean this maliciously, but the word. Sorry, I'm sorry. Look, we need points. I don't. Guys, come on.
This clip went viral when Kavos tweeted it out with the caption, "Fans are angry at KSI for saying pokey in a Sidemen video for points. I don't think there's any excuse to be saying that at all." He continues by saying, "Where I grew up, saying this would get you fucked up. KSI being someone who lives in London should know better." Brandon responds by saying, "Where I grew up? Man, shut up." To which Kavos responds, "What? I grew up and went to school in Hounslow. A huge mixing pot, and this word would get you fucked up." Now, obviously the word he's actually talking about isn't Pokimane, but the idea of having people beat you up in school for disrespecting Pokimane is just too hilarious to me. But obviously what Kavos is actually talking about here is a slur that is treated very, very seriously over in London, which is derogatory towards Pakistani people. And based on the censoring of the word Kavos did, with it being P*KI, and it being a slur towards Pakistani people, you can probably guess what that extra letter is. It's not an O. But regardless, people were really mad about this on Twitter. Also, before we get into the meat of this video, a lot of the names of the Pakistani people calling out KSI for this have names that I don't really know exactly how to pronounce. So if I make any accidental mispronunciations, it doesn't come from a place of malice, it's just a genuine mistake. But with that being said, Umir says, "Been a KSI fan for the longest, but so weird for him to say pokey in the latest Sidemen vid, even if they bleeped it, and it was in jest for content. Other racial slurs wouldn't be used as punchlines for YouTube game shows. Just make light of the word, plus certain people's experience. Fact the Sidemen team didn't edit it out suggests they were fine with it, and which is so mad to me. They didn't think the use of the word for cheap laughs was an issue. That minimizes the topic's significance. Racial abuse towards Asians is taken less seriously more of the time. Sad thing I've seen is there's far fewer vocal South Asian voices in entertainment/media, etc. with public platform. So even when it is made insignificant, there's not really a point made of it, which is why I can't be silent on it really. Just blatant disrespect. #disappointed. Uncool Timmy responds by saying, "KSI has used his own blackness as a punchline to his white and non-black audiences for years. This is just a natural evolution of his humor, and I'm sure he's been doing it for years too. If this is the straw that breaks the camel's back, so be it." Rambo FYI says, "Just watched this video. Never had an issue with KSI. He's always been a lovely guy with me, but this comes back to something I always talk about. The word pokey and racial abuse to South Asians is just not taken seriously enough. Frightening that it wasn't completely edited out." Herbalist says, "The Sidemen have a whole team of people that see their videos before they are released, and no one thought KSI saying pokey was inappropriate enough to cut out of their latest video? KMT racism towards South Asians is so normalized. No one even sees a problem with it." Nick responds by saying, "It's bad, but compared to things they've said in the past, it wouldn't even make top 3. It's not that deep." Herbalist responds, "Sick of you white boys saying it's not that deep. It's not your place to decide that." Jon Snow responds, "Since when is pokey a slur? I swear it exists only in the UK. No person I've seen in Pakistan has a problem with it laughing my ass off, or even know that it's apparently a slur." Herbalist responds, "Because pokey bashing is something that happened in the UK." Phantom Health quote tweets Kavos and says, "Fuck KSI, Chunks, Philly, and all these fucking Sidemen. How are mans out here using racial slurs and the rest just sit there and laugh? Social media got people too comfy. Cancel them all. People say racist remarks and then play victim." Keemstar says, "So weird to see people calling KSI a racist. It's just not true." In the full context of him saying the word, he clearly prefaces it by saying, "I'm not saying this in any hateful way. Was it wrong? Yeah, you could say that. But to call him racist is just dishonest." Another person who went viral on Twitter posting the clip is Kinney, who says, "Nah, KSI, you're not funny, man. You cannot say pokey in any context. These lot will do anything for content." Jack responds by saying, "KSI has not been funny for so long." Kinney responds, "He's so cringe." The Midget is gone responds with laughing emojis, to which Kinney responds, "Why are you laughing?" Midget then responds, "They've literally all done this jokingly for years. Remember Harry's poem about KSI and the Tinder date? Or the countless comments towards Vic? Don't cry just because they've used a word you don't like. Kinney responds, all of them were dead jokes. If you're like 30 and still watching them, then get a life. Goatman Tyrone responds, you're telling him to get a life, but you pressed someone said a word over a screen. How soft you gotta be to let words over the internet get you this pressed. Ragsy responds to Kinney by saying, honestly, the content they've got now is just rotten. A few weeks back with KSI pissing on Ethan's hands was vile, and today is just peak. Lost all respect. If these are the lengths they go to for content, then they shouldn't be doing this anymore. Kinney responds, agreed. They are trying so hard to be relevant. Zian quote tweets Kinney and says, KSI is a big disgusting prick for this. I have no respect for any of them laughing either, because the P word is not a word any of them should be using. Nasty racial slur that has hurt many South Asians. Real talk, if you think this is okay, please remove yourself from my timeline. Amrita says, this is not just KSI as well. All those men sitting around kikiing are enablers too, especially Vicstar, cause how as a South Asian man are you okay with your friend using that word? Guz Khan says, you see KSI, the issue you have here is that a lot of Pakistanians can make things very difficult for you, and anyone giggling in this video. When they catch up with you, I hope the dead countdown joke was worth it. Wakey Wines was getting his compensation in advance. Sunny quote tweets Guz and says, my bro, you don't seem to understand the hatred and fatally violent racist P-bashing that would happen to brown people not so long ago. Last year, Nico and Chunks were mocking 6. Now KSI is trying to make light of the P word. What the fuck these clowns playing at? Madaha responds to the clip by saying, racism towards South Asians is so normalized that not only does it get laughed at, it gets shared publicly for clout. If you have to preface a racial slur with, I don't mean this maliciously, but, then you know exactly what you were saying. So KSI better not plead ignorance now. Marine says, this is horrifically disappointing from KSI and his crew. So many of my students look up to these guys, and they are casually throwing around a word that has consistently been used to bully and attack South Asians. This isn't comedy. Bobby says, I had this racial slur thrown at me and got physical beats by racists for my entire childhood. Genuinely upset that KSI, a guy my children love, did this and thought it was funny. The rest of them laughing can go fuck themselves too. People dehumanizing brown people like it normal. Troops AFC says, I don't find this funny one bit, shaking my head. Disappointed in KSI and the whole of the panel too, shaking my head. Smile2 Jana makes a Twitter video about this with the caption, KSI uses the word pokey in his latest Sidemen video, as the rest of them laughed away. He has apologized, but what's worse is how some Gen Z South Asians were claiming, well, we aren't offended, let's talk.
Assalamu alaikum guys, I'm sure you've seen the clip of KSI, the famous British YouTuber. Alongside the Sidemen, they were doing some sort of countdown in which KSI used the Paki word, which is a racial slur against South Asians. In fact, it's used against anyone of a brown color, and I'm seeing certain people in the comments saying, oh, I'm Asian, I'm Pakistani, and I don't see it as an offense. I don't see it as something bad. With all due respect, that's because you haven't had to live through that being sprayed at you, not even spoken and shouted at you, just sprayed at you in the way that it happened to our parents and our grandparents. They're the ones that get to decide, because they're the ones that actually paved the way for us to come here, not you sitting at home, most of your time's probably spent in a digital realm anyway, with people that you can't even see. I mean, things are okay now. It may not be used in such a derogatory way now, but the way it's been racially charged and used as hatred, as our mothers, sisters and brothers and fathers were being bullied using this term. It be Indian, Bangladeshi, Pakistani, Sikh, whether you're part of a culture or religion, if you're brown, even black people were kind of used, these terms were used against them. So rather than jumping up and being that self-loathing brown guy, oh, I'm okay with it. With all due respect, learn your history. Learn your history, and then you will not be making such mistakes. And KSI's response was, look, I apologize, and that's good. It's good that he's apologized. But then he goes on to say, that's why I say don't keep me on a pedestal. That's why I say I'm not a good role model. And you don't have to be off a pedestal, or you don't have to be somebody that's not a role model to be able to identify basic common slurs That's a slur. And, you know, that's not really acceptable of somebody at his stature. I mean, look, I understand a lot of people are snowflakes. This is not a snowflake thing. It doesn't get more clearer than this. You know what I'm saying?
And speaking of that apology KSI made, here it is. It reads out, I want to apologize for saying a racial slur in a recent Sidemen video. There's no excuse, no matter the circumstances. I shouldn't have said it, and I'm sorry. I've always said to my audience that they shouldn't worship me or put me on a pedestal because I'm human. I'm not perfect. I'm gonna mess up in life, and lately I've been messing up a lot, so I've decided I'm gonna just take a break from social media for a while. Smile2Jana responds by saying, that's appreciated, bro, but we don't have to be lowered from a pedestal or not a role model to avoid clear racial slurs. That's an L for sure. Karan responds by saying, this could change the vibe of the Sidemen a little, I feel. Kanye Best responds by saying, the internet turned too soft. To which Oz responds, easy to say when you're not in the privileged position of not getting racially abused by that word your whole life living in the UK. There's lines that shouldn't be crossed. Kanye Best responds, it was a joke, mate, chill out. To which Oz responds, no probs, mate. Go ahead and say I don't mean this maliciously and proceed to make racist jokes. Good luck. Kanye Best responds, I'm South Asian, and people identify their nationality saying pokey. Since when did the first 4 words of your nationality become a slur? Laughing my ass off. Tally Dar responds to KSI by saying, no one worships you, my guy. You don't need to be God to understand racism isn't okay. You live in the UK and should know the consequences of saying that word. Nopify responds by pointing out that KSI is 29 years old. Emanon responds by saying, bruh, it's fine, I'm racist too, it's cool. Huddy responds, bro's a professional racist. Man like Isaac responds by saying, you're the goat, man. We all mess up. But you were literally the blueprint for so many creators. You set the way. No need to take a break. But if that's what's best for you, then go ahead. We love you, bro. Elias says, I dare not think how everyone would react like, had a white personality said the N-word. The P-word is as offensive. Shameful editing to even think it's remotely funny to keep in the edit. Shows how out of touch the Sidemen really are. Racism isn't banter. Ballin shows a picture of KSI dressed up as a prime drink bottle, laying in pain on a stretcher with the caption, he realized he ain't built for this. Big Lel responds to KSI by saying, why did the editors keep it in anyway? Subby responds to KSI by saying, use me as a we forgive you button. Scarecrow responds, use me as a we don't dick ride KSI button. And then he shows that he got blocked by Subby. Xavier says, translation, I'm not sorry for what I said. I'm sorry that I got caught. I'm now going to take a break until you normies have forgotten about this, so I can make my return and pretend that nothing happened. Your fellow Arab says they finally got him. Gus Zan responds to KSI by saying, you were an immature fool. You are very lucky it's Ramadan as well. Make it a matter of urgency that you never say anything like this again, and let your giggling little friends in the video know they're not off the hook either. Jake Paul quote tweets KSI and says, fake guy with fake apologies every other week. I hope you take this more serious than taking a break off social media, so you can focus on training than reappearing 2 weeks before your fight saying you're a new man. Meet with British South Asian community leaders. Get with the right charities and give back. I made my own mistakes in my early 20s, but we are too old for this behavior. I look forward to knocking you the fuck out on behalf of all South Asians around the world, you 30-year-old prick. Jake Buckley quote tweets Jake and says, Jake, you've literally said the N-word multiple times on camera. I don't think you've got the faculties to come at KSI like that. Out of context Sidemen responds to Jake by saying, tweeting this to gain one-upmanship is very poor from you, Jake. KSI is in the wrong and apologized, but when you have made mistakes in your early 20s, did you ever accept you were wrong and apologize for your actions when saying racial slurs? The YouTube channel KSI Said the Slur on Sidemen also made a statement of their own where they say, during yesterday's Sidemen Sunday, a racial slur was said during the video. We accept that it was completely unacceptable and inexcusable. The fact the incident was made light of on the show was wrong and compounded the hurt. We deeply regret this and would like to truly apologize. We have reflected on this incident both collectively and individually, and are truly ashamed that we let ourselves and you guys down in this way. We want to use our channels to promote positivity and great entertainment. We stand against racism and discrimination of any kind, and we failed to do that. Again, we are truly sorry and promise to do better. Sidemen. Gus Khan responds to this by saying, nah, for whoever is posting this on their behalf, they are going to sit down and they are going to have to be educated. It's going to happen. Dane responds by saying, see, when you have a government that normalizes Islamophobia for an entire generation, it's a matter of time before people get brave and wild statements come out, not just in comedy, but across media. Fuckery of the highest order. James responds to Sidemen by saying, this is unacceptable. I don't don't think I will ever watch another Sidemen video again. I am truly disgusted. PicU responds to Sidemen by saying, it's not that deep. To which Fahim responds, who are you to say? Are you brown or Pakistani? The word has history behind it. If a white guy was saying the N-word, you wouldn't be saying this. Hypocrite. Softan responds by saying, I'm Pakistani and I'm telling you right now, it really isn't that deep. Fahim responds by saying, have some self-respect, little bro. To which Sofian responds, I have plenty. That's why I don't stress out over a word someone says on the internet. No need to waste my time and energy on silly shit like that. Fahim responds, sure man, but KSI has a lot of young fans, and it's influencing them. We should stand up and not let this happen. The word pokey is thrown around to belittle other brown people all over the UK. Sofian responds, I agree he should make a video and make it absolutely clear that it's not a word that should be used. I just think a lot of people are being far too dramatic. Liam responds by saying, the world if Harry said it, and then a picture of a futuristic utopia. Zach responds by saying, I do not accept it. I have watched Sidemen my entire lifetime and can proudly say that I will never watch again. Abby Shia responds by saying, don't forget to close the door behind you. Bye. Daniel says, I just know for a fact that if Harry said this, it wouldn't be as blown up as it has. Mark responds with crying emojis and a picture of KSI next to Harry with the caption, bro thinks he's him. Miniminter adds to the Sidemen statement by saying, on a personal note, I want to apologize also. The ignorance shown can't be ignored, and I genuinely am sorry from the bottom of my heart. It won't happen again. Jonas responds by saying, world is so soft. Retali8 says, no one cares. Stop acting like you've murdered someone. You laughed at a joke. Another Sidemen member, Ethan, also makes an apology by saying, regarding the events that took place in the last Sidemen Sunday, I wanted to personally apologize for my reaction. Laughter around a word which has such impact on the South Asian community isn't acceptable, and I'm deeply sorry for causing such hurt. As an individual and a group, we failed on our responsibilities to take care of the influence we hold. As mentioned in our statement, educating ourselves and our audience is key in the pursuit to doing better. Liam responds to him by saying, let's be honest mate, you're not sorry. You're just worried about getting cancelled. Josh responds by saying, we should all make individual apologies, boys, so it looks more real. Speaking of the next individual apology, it comes from Vicstar who says, following our group statement, I want to make a personal apology to everyone hurt by my reaction to comments made in last week's Sidemen video. As a South Asian, I fell short of my responsibility to ensure this racial slur, that sadly I'm all too familiar with, is not tolerated or trivialized. This is a mistake I won't ever make again. Joel responds by saying, the Sidemen audience of today wouldn't last a minute in a Cards Against Humanity vid from 2014. Sandman says, seen JJ doing some rounds in South Asian communities out there. Let him know I got a proper Punjabi wedding he can attend this week to soak in the culture properly. Eamon Ya responds by saying, bro just wants to take pics with KSI. JSQ Med responds to Vic by saying, you lot are deeping it, this generation is so soft. Another Sidemen member, Toby, makes an apology that says, firstly, apologies for the delay on an individual response to the situation. It was important that each of us individually took time to reflect and see where and how we were wrong in order to hold ourselves accountable and educate our audience so they don't make the same mistakes. I'd like to apologize personally and sincerely to the South Asian community for my lack of action in the situation, particularly having spoken passionately against racism before. Regardless of context or intent, the word should never have been said, allowed to be said, or even upon edit allowed to be kept in. It showed a huge amount of ignorance on our part as exactly to how offensive it is, a lesson we have now had to learn the hard way, but something we will grow from and use to educate others on via our platform. To anyone defending us, I ask that you simply please understand the frustrations of those hurt. There is a huge lack of understanding about the horrible history of that word in the UK, and the use and reaction in the video reflected that. We always strive to be entertaining with our content, and usually we know where to draw the line, but we overstep the boundary hugely here, and let everyone down. We've taken measures both individually and collectively to make sure this doesn't happen again. So from the bottom of my heart, I ask for your forgiveness once more on behalf of myself and the boys. God bless, Toby. Sam comments on this by saying, the Sidemen are apologizing one by one for their parts in the video on Sunday, but why is Toby apologizing? He's the only one that tried to stop the inevitable, and then was the only one that didn't laugh? They all should be ashamed bar him. Toby responds, like I said in the apology, I could have been more stern. I could have told them afterwards that it shouldn't be kept in. As a collective, we should have done better. I'm part of it, so I owe it to you all to apologize. Appreciate you. The next apology comes from Josh, who says, wanted to tweet something personally following on from our collective statement on Sidemen socials. I'm extremely disappointed in myself for my reaction to the comments made in the most recent Sidemen Sunday. I'd like to sincerely apologize for both my reaction and my lack of action in the situation itself. Regardless of intent, the word should have never been said, allowed to be said, laughed at, or even allowed to have been made into the final version of the video. It showed a huge amount of ignorance on our part. If you are unaware yourself of how offensive the word really is, please don't blindly defend us. Instead, please be both sensitive and understanding to the frustrations of those that are hurt. I also encourage you to educate yourself on the history of the word, as I've now done myself. With regards to the Sidemen, we always strive to be a positive source of entertainment to be enjoyed by all, with zero tolerance towards racism and discrimination. However, we regrettably missed the mark here, and let everybody down. We've put in place measures individually and collectively to ensure something like this never happens again. All we ask for you is your forgiveness. Josh. Nicholas Diorio reacts to all of this by saying, they are apologizing for being in proximity of where a slur was said. Laughing my ass off, this is amazing. A couple days later, we then find out that KSI visited a mosque in order to learn and educate himself, and there he spoke to a man called Imam Muhammad, and Imam made a statement about his visit with KSI on Instagram, where he says, last night I had a private meeting with KSI, and I see people diminishing the value and importance of it. I felt like I need to come out publicly to let it be known what actually happened. I had a long, deep, and genuinely sincere conversation with him. As a leader in my community, I don't use my words lightly. KSI came here to Bradford to meet me with pure intent, to start the pathway to right his wrong, and the first step is to gain a deeper understanding and education of his mistake. He realizes the extent of his mistake, and is genuinely remorseful and apologetic for the hurt he caused the South Asian community. The history of the Pakistani and South Asian community in British society was explained to him, and the dangers of normalizing offensive slurs to his audience was highlighted at length. I know he will grow from this, and be more conscious in understanding his influence, and to use it for good. I believe this was a necessary lesson for his growth, and although the incident has had a negative impact in the short term, the positivity that arises from his understanding will outweigh it in the long term. If a man is willing to be educated and grow, I will always embrace it. He came in with a genuinely remorseful heart and good intention. He brought no cameras, and was filmed by our own enthusiastic community members in their excitement of meeting and seeing KSI unexpectedly here in Bradford. I also took the opportunity for him to visit the masjid so he can see and experience this. He was amazed by the entire setup and was eye-opening for him. I explained as part of his growth he must understand the different races, cultures, and religions in his audience so not to cause offense, and this was one step closer to that. I can only vouch for my interaction with him and reiterate that he took his time out to learn about our race, religion, and community. We then see a TikTok that was filmed by one of the community members at the mosque that got reposted on the Sidemen Updates Twitter account.
With the intention of malice, even those probably sat on the Sidemen, they probably didn't understand. They might have just been like,
you know what?
Laughed off
it was ignorance from what I saw. You know, that's what it was.
Did I not mention that word? Yeah. But that's what he's part of learning.
Yeah. Everyone
he's here to learn about what it is. He's never been in a mosque, he said. Yeah.
Kavos reacts to this by saying, honestly, I'm not trying to hate, but why does KSI need to go to a mosque to understand that a slur is bad? He knew it wasn't something he should say, and you can see it in the Sidemen video. Comes across very PR damage control, and of course, there is a camera ready. Educating yourself on things is definitely a good thing. However, the clip we saw, KSI was already educated. He knew it was something he shouldn't say, and it's there in the clip for everyone to see. That is why this educating looks so hollow. I also love how KSI fans have zero concept of PR stunt. You think it's just convenient this was all filmed? End of the day, KSI was stupid to say that slur. He doesn't need to be educated because he clearly knew it was something he shouldn't say. Gideon responds to Kavos' tweet by saying, Kavos if KSI didn't exist, and showing a picture of a McDonald's employee. Dextero then tweets out an apology video that was filmed of KSI apologizing for the racial slur he said in the Sidemen video.
All right. Hi. Morning, everyone. So I want to read a statement which I've written to make sure I express myself as clearly and cover everything I want to say. First of all, I want to address a recent incident in a video whereby my actions have affected many people, especially in the South Asian community. I want to take this opportunity to offer my deepest and most sincere apologies for my words and actions. In a recent video, I used a racial term that is offensive to so many, especially in the South Asian community. There were no excuses for what I said, and I recognize I've caused a lot of hurt and disappointment to so many people that look up to me. And my ignorance has only reinforced the negative stereotypes that have existed for way too long in this country. I want to express my heartfelt regret for what I said, and I want you to know that I am genuinely ashamed and deeply sorry for any pain or suffering I have caused. I realize that my words, have consequences, and as a public figure, I have a responsibility to use my platform for good rather than perpetuating discrimination. And this week, I have failed to do this. Privately, I have taken the time to engage in very, early conversations with some people from South Asian communities, and will continue to do so in the coming weeks and months ahead. I will continue to educate myself on the rich history and diverse cultures of South Asia and the struggles faced by its people. I am committed to doing better, being a better ally, and use my platform to uplift marginalized voices. Now, I want to say again that, how truly sorry I am for my actions. I know that, it's going to take time and effort to really regain the trust and respect of those that I've hurt. And I'm prepared to tirelessly work to make sure I make amends. I hope my sincere apology and commitment to educate myself will be a step towards healing and unity. And I fully understand that my actions will speak louder than my words. So, thank you for listening, man. I'm sorry.
Mudahar reacts to this by saying, "This is filmed like ISIS captured him or something. Being of South Asian descent, I don't believe KSI is racist. He dropped a slur that's centric to the UK and he apologized. Once is fine, and I hope he doesn't fumble again. The apology tour is cringe and seems manufactured. Move on." He then shows a picture of himself at Hajj with KSI photoshopped in the background and says, "He's making amends." John Pierre Jr. responds to him by saying, "I'm unsure what part of this is true. Did you do Hajj for real? If yes, then very based." Mudahar responds, "Yeah, did it years ago. Going to go back next year." And that's about it for the conversation around KSI saying this slur. I had no idea that this word even was a slur prior to all this controversy with KSI. Obviously, as you can tell throughout my narration in this video, I'm not very familiar with Pakistani culture or South Asian culture, as I probably mispronounced a lot of things in this video, and if I did, I genuinely apologize. I don't mean any offense by it, and hopefully it wasn't offensive that I said pokey instead of the actual word. Maybe I should have said P-word instead, but as I said, this backlash around this word is very new to me personally, as I'm not very educated on South Asian culture, as well as the fact that I live in Canada and not the UK. But regardless, if you're more educated than me, I would love to hear your opinions in the comment section below, and if you want to keep up to date with more social media Twitter news, be sure to subscribe to this channel with notifications on. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in another video.